All right, in today's lab, we'd like you to write this equation on the top of your whiteboard. And our first question is, in what form is this equation written? And it's in standard form. Now, when you see an equation in standard form and we're asked to graph it, what should you do? Well, I'm going to suggest, and I'd like you to do this, is over here on the left, make a T-chart. And this is that special T-chart, which we're calling the X and Y-Intercept T-chart, where we put a 0 there and a 0 there. Now, take a moment to write, if X is a 0, what does this become? What does Y equal? Well, if X is a 0, 4 times 0 is 0, 3Y equals 12, we're going to divide by 3, both sides, and we get Y equals 4. All right, now do the same thing for if Y is a 0. So if Y is a 0, 3 times 0 is 0, we then get 4x equals 12. And we divide each side by 4, and we get x equals 3. So now what we want to do is to make a graph, sketch that, and let's use 4 points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when we are sketching a graph, we have to keep in mind that it may not be super accurate because you're sketching it as opposed to doing it very meticulously with a ruler and points. And when you do this in Math Lab, of course, you're going to easily be able to plot these. So what do we do? Well, we're going to plot this, which we said was our Y-intercept, and then we're going to plot this one that we said was our X-intercept. So plotting our Y-intercept 0, 4, 0, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, we put a dot right there, and 3, 0, that will be 1, 2, 3, 0, and then we sketch a line through it like so. And remember, there are an infinite number of points on this line. What we did, though, was using this special T-chart, X and Y intercept T-chart, we were able to plot the Y-intercept and the X-intercept. Now in Math Lab, they're sometimes going to ask you to, by plotting the intercepts, make the graph of this equation. So it's important that you plot the intercepts. As we start the second part of graphing, we want first to ask you, what is the name of this formula, and in a sense, what's the form that this equation is in? And if you said slope-intercept, that is correct. So there is a protocol for graphing an equation when it's in slope-intercept form. Now, one of the things you could do, of course, is to make a t-chart and put in some points, a -1, let's say, a 0, and a 1, and then get your values, your y values, and plot those. But the other way is when it's in slope-intercept, there is a protocol. And step 1 would be to plot the y-intercept. And remember, we said the y-intercept was the b value when it's in this form. So that would be 2. And then step 2 is to plot the slope. And we said m is the slope when it's in this form. That's what gives rise to the name slope-intercept. There's your slope, and that would be, in a sense, over 1. And there's your y-intercept. So the next thing to do is to make a graph. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now again, we're just sketching a graph here. So the first thing to do here is to plot the y-intercept. And if you recall, the y-intercept is where your graph will cross the y-axis. And it crosses it at 2. So where y is 2, that will be your y-intercept. Now, in plotting the slope, we need to recall that m is y units over x units. So this would be 3 over 1. And it's positive, and we're suggesting you plot the x value first. So we're going to go over 1. Mentally, we just make a little dot there, but we don't put it in our graph. And now we're going to have our y units. From this point, we go up 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you just need 2 points to graph in MATLAB. So that'll make a nice line like so. And you have done the graph. So once again, when it's in slope-intercept form, again, we could do a t-chart, or we could use this simplified method of plotting the y-intercept first, and then from that point we plot the slope, remembering that slope is y over x, in this case 3 over 1.